Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, New Release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It is the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofcruising.net. It helps support the channel through our partnership with Where's Walters Travel. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul. I am delighted to welcome this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, Nikki and Tommie Jones. As regular listeners and readers of any of the Joy of Cruising books know, among passionate cruise celebrities, musicians, performers, CEOs, or global cruise personalities, we feature ordinary cruisers with extraordinary cruise story. If this podcast video, you would see me put air quotes around ordinary because there is nothing ordinary about Nikki and Tommie, as you will soon learn. But what I mean is, like I have done from time to time, I encountered Nikki and Tommie by happenstance in one of the many social media cruising groups I am a part of. And as I am wont to do when I see a cruiser sharing reflections, photos, and videos about some bucket list cruise they experienced, I reached out to them and invited them on the podcast to share their story with the cruise community. I had extra motivation to request the Joneses to be on the show. I met them on an Waterways Facebook group, and this bucket list cruise they experienced, the Soulful Epicurean French River Cruise on AmaKristina, is at the top of my bucket list, and it's booked. When this podcast episode releases, Cheryl and I will be en route to France. Nikki and Tommie are passionate cruisers who are happily married and headquartered in San Antonio, Texas. They are retired U.S. Army veterans with more than 50 years of combined active duty service. Nikki served for 20 years and Tommie served for 30 years. Thank you for your service. They are the owners of Jones Getaways by Dream Vacations with more than 5 years as certified travel advisors. Travel is their life, and their goal is to help people experience the amazing of the world through travel. Welcome, Nikki and Tommie, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So how you both doing?
Oh, we're doing fantastic.
Doing great. It's a little hot down here in Texas, but we're doing all right.
So, curiosity question, what's the temperature outside?
Well, I'm going to be exact with you because I want to make sure that you get the facts. So I'm looking it up right now, and it is a high of 97, but at 12 o'clock right now, at noon, it's 90 degrees.
Okay. So we are almost that bad. It'll get up over the 90s here. Right now, it's still in the 80s. So, and by the way, for the listeners, many of you know I'm in North Carolina. So before we discuss your bucket list adventure, tell our listeners about yourself in general. Where you're from, where you live, how'd you meet, professional background, say something about your family, anything you would like to share.
Sure. Well, hi everyone. This is Nikki. I was born and raised in Georgia. And actually, I joined the Army in 1998. We currently live in San Antonio, but I've lived all over Georgia, Texas, Florida, Tennessee, South Korea. And now we're back in Texas.
Nikki, what part of Georgia?
From Columbus, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Fort Benning, the old Fort Benning, is now, I think, Fort Monroe. I think that's what.
I didn't know they changed the name. I was in the Army.
Oh, very nice. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. And I spent almost my whole career at Benning.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
And actually, I spent maybe 2.5 out of the 3 years in Benning. And then I also was in San Antonio. That's where I got my I was in the medical field.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I was one of those MASH unit soldiers who had a big afro. But you wouldn't know it unless you saw me on the weekend.
Pat it down.
Well, yes,
Yep,
actually,
yep.
they changed the name. It's actually Fort Moore.
Yeah.
Fort Moore.
Okay.
Yes, they
Okay.
changed the name.
Okay.
Yes, a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Tommy?
So I'm originally from the great state of Ohio. Joined the Army in 1991.
Mm.
And I don't think we needed all this extra stuff. But but we joined the Army and just being Ohio is landlocked. So my first time flying was when I joined the Army. My first time seeing the ocean was when I joined the Army. So it's all that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I've once again lived all over the world, literally, and settled down in San Antonio. But my longest place of living was probably in Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, do y'all have, if you don't mind me asking, y'all have kids?
Yes, yes, we have a boy and a girl. The oldest daughter, she lives in Brooklyn now. She's been there for about 5 years. And son, he lives out in San Antonio, outskirts of San Antonio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Well, I'm originally from Brooklyn, so I lived in Brooklyn till I was like 12, 13,
Okay.
and then moved out to Long Island.
Okay.
She loves it.
So good. So talk about the development of Jones Getaways by Dream Vacations.
Go ahead.
I'll start. So we were actually stationed in South Korea at the time when I retired in 2019. And so we had maybe about 8 months left on that assignment. So there was no reason for me to try to go out and get a job or anything. So I needed to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, when I grew up. So I started doing some research because I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, own my own business, and started looking up franchises that were veteran friendly. And so in my research, I found that travel Dream Vacations kept coming up. Every time I looked, and that could have been my algorithm at the time too. You start looking at one thing and you keep seeing it over and over. So I kept
Yep.
seeing Dream Vacations, and that got me to doing more research into travel. And because also travel is what we've done in the military too, going to different places. So um, I reached out to Dream Vacations and set up a virtual meeting with them, and I talked to Tommy about it, and he was on board, and that's kind of how Dream Vacations developed.
Now, when you got into Dream Vacations, had you done much travel for leisure? I know you traveled for the military, but had you cruised yet?
No, yeah, not cruise.
Well, she had, but me, so being from Ohio, never seeing the ocean before, growing up, travel was like going to see my grandfather in Kentucky or going to visit my uncle in Ohio. So it was a 4 hour or less drive. And that was what travel was to me. So when I joined the military, I guess I got my fill of travel just going around, right? Going wherever they sent me. So when she thought of opening her own travel agency, I was on board because I was still in the military, but at that time, travel still wasn't a big thing for me. I'd never thought about cruising before because it was like, why would I want to be on the ocean stuck in a metal container?
I hear you.
Once we went through the training and once I understood what her dream was, then that started to get me excited about travel.
Yeah, and also the leisure travel. When we were in South Korea, we took a trip to Vietnam.
Now she planned this trip.
Mhm.
And once again, I'm used to driving to Kentucky, but she planned this trip to Vietnam. And I've never been a part of something that was so in sync, lockstep, but also it was brand new to us. So that just amazed me about how well she was able to plan that trip to Vietnam. And it just blew me away. So that after that, I was all in. If this is what vacation is, then let's go.
That's right.
So when and on what ship was your first cruise?
Well, my first cruise was in 2002 on the Disney Magic. And I think that was the first cruise ship that they had back then. And it was a quick trip. You know, we had an interior room. I didn't know anything about cruising, but me and my sister, we took the kids on a cruise. So that was my first one.
And my first one was way after Nikki's. Mine was on the Celebrity Apex in 2021. And it was, people warned me. They was like, I don't know if you should go on Celebrity and a brand new ship as your first cruise because it might spoil your expectations for the rest of them. But it was definitely it was amazing. And yeah, that was my first cruise just 4 years ago.
I can see how you could easily get spoiled because, Celebrity Apex is all that. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes,
on that first cruise, did you get hooked?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So from my first cruise in 2002 to my next cruise, which was with Tommie, of course, together on the Apex in 21, I was just so impressed about what the differences and then also how things had changed. We were in an interior room. Let me just say this real quick. So this was our first conference. That's why we were on the Apex. So this was our first conference with Dream Vacations, and majority of the cabins were already sold out. So we could only get an interior room at the time. And that was some of the best sleep we ever had in our life because there are no windows, but because there are no windows, you get lost with the time. You don't know what time it is, you don't see what's going on. So,
but also that was my biggest fear because once again, I'd never been on a cruise ship before. And so my idea of what cruising was A, stuck on his boat, B, feeling like it's like you're trapped, and C, worrying about the flow of the ocean and getting seasick. And so when I realized where our room was, I was like, this is gonna be the worst thing ever. But yes, I became hooked because imagine a gold star hotel and a city traveling to countries you've never been to.
Yeah.
How are you not gonna get hooked on that?
I do a little informal, or I have been doing a little informal poll, since I've started podcasting, and it's well over 100 podcasts now, and I always ask people if they get hooked on the first cruise, and easily 95% of people get hooked on the first cruise. There's some exceptions, for some people it had to grow on them, but
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say one thing we've noticed is that a lot of military, naval personnel, they don't want to go on these cruises, but
initially,
yes, but then they get turned around also.
I can imagine they probably think it's something like what they've been doing and not even close.
Exactly.
So how soon did you cruise again?
After that cruise,
6 months later.
Yeah, we went on a cruise 6 months later.
Yeah, you were hooked.
Yeah, and that was on the Royal Caribbean, Liberty of the Seas, because it was out of Galveston, and we just needed to get an understanding of what that was like traveling out of Galveston, Texas.
And since that first cruise, we've cruised at least once a year since then.
Yeah. on several cruise
yeah.
lines.
So in 2019, you purchased your travel business, and then the next year, as everyone knows, the pandemic happened. Talk about, wasn't that some difficult timing for you?
Yes, it was actually, because 2019, of course, we started the business August, and we were on an incline, had several, clients, and people started traveling everywhere. And then, of course, March 2020, COVID happened. So I was actually working with government contracting at the time. So I was doing, both simultaneously. So it was kind of a blessing that we still had that, other income too. So I was still keeping busy with that because we didn't know the state of travel. Um, Dream Vacations did a great job with continuing to keep us abreast of, the travel industry and what was happening. And it gave us an opportunity to do industry training because that's really all we could do at that time. So I just really kept myself busy during that time, with my other job too.
Yeah. See, my perspective was different because remember, I didn't retire. Well, I probably didn't tell you this, but I didn't retire until 2021. So the pandemic, I had a whole different perspective because just to be honest, it's the first time ever that I've seen the military stop, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that threw me off specifically, but it also helped set me up for I think I might be able to retire because I've done it for 30 years. Well, at that time it was 28 years, and I was still considering, is there another job that I want to take, blah blah, right? But once the pandemic hit, that allowed me to slow down, and then it brought us back in the house together because you know how military
Focus on the
life goes.
business.
Yeah. And to be honest, we wavered because travel stopping like that, it was it took the energy out of it because we weren't sure how the return would be.
Right, right.
And if it wasn't for Dream Vacations, and that's our higher headquarters, they kept having like monthly meetings, and they were tracking the progress of travel. And they just kept saying every time, do not give up because we promise you it's going to come back even better than it was. And it was hard to see, but that's what kept Nikki, motivated to keep going. And she ended up sticking with it. And then that's exactly what happened. When travel came back, people just they needed to get out. And we were one of them too.
So my guess is you saw at towards the end of the shutdown, you probably saw a surge in your business, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We sure did. People had all the pent up energy, the cabin fever, and they had the
Money.
resources behind them, and they were ready to go.
Yeah.
So we were glad that we, kind of planted the seed in a lot of our clients, people that we had already knew, and they knew to reach out to us to get them to wherever their destinations wanted to be.
But I will say this, we actually had to make a conscious decision that if we expect people to book with us and travel, we have to let them see us travel.
Sure.
So, yeah. And so before the pandemic was over and before it was starting to lessen, we ended up, so we were in Virginia at the time. So we were like, you know what? Let's go to DC just to get pictures of us out there seeing what the world was like. And even that was a shock because we were standing in the Lincoln Memorial and there was literally 4 other people in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, and we've been there before. And if you hadn't been there before, there's thousands of people just standing around and barely able enough room to get a good picture if you do it normally. And so that was an eye opener. But at the same time, we were out there, we saw other people out there, and we kept our mask on, and we were able to start showing people that, hey, you can travel, just be safe. And that's what encouraged that, along with, of course, the news and everything else. But that eventually started showing people that, hey, y'all out there, and what can we do? And so that
Right, right. Well, that sounds like a good tactic. Now, what was your first cruise after the lockdown?
so that was Celebrity.
Yeah.
That was
Yep.
my first cruise, and
Yep.
that was
Right.
Oh,
that
was
was
Right.
that was the
2021.
Apex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, wow, to go on
yeah,
your
Yep.
first cruise on the
Yep.
Edge
Yep.
class. That's
yeah.
pretty
But at the same
nice.
time, man, because remember, it was still close to the pandemic, right? And so they weren't sure if they were going to have it. They were. I'm talking about the cruise was going to happen, but weren't sure if we were going to have our annual conference. And so when they put the green light in, we were like, okay, let's do it. So we had to plan and prepare to say, hey, we got to make sure that, because we usually have a big Christmas thing, and my mother's thankfully still around, but we had to prepare to make sure that we were going to be safe before we traveled, while we traveled, and then safe to people when we got finished from traveling. So it was a lot, but it was also another signal to the world that we know of, that, hey, it's okay to get out here and travel, and you will be okay.
Now, a lot of travel enthusiasts and cruise enthusiasts kind of hit the ground running after the lockdown was over, made up for lost time. Did y'all do that, or did you kind of ease into things?
No, I think we kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah.
We
Sprinting.
we went on the Royal Caribbean, Liberty of the Seas, we went on Allure,
Went to
Carnival.
some all-inclusive resorts. So we
Yes.
traveled in 2021. We were all over the
Mm-hmm,
place.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were taking it. So what some people don't know is that during the pandemic, some of the like resorts and some of the different travel locations you could go to were slowly opening themselves up to travel advisors. And so if you were aware, which we weren't in the beginning, you could literally go to a resort as a special guest and only be there with like 20 people and get a chance to see the resort and build your library, your uh, photos and videos and all that stuff. And so once we found out that was available, that's when we got on the bandwagon and just got out there.
Let's talk about your bucket list cruise on Waterways. That's how I learned about you guys. I was, as I'm probably on maybe over 100 cruise groups on Facebook, and sometimes I'll see someone make a post with some beautiful photos and beautiful stories, and I, say, "Wow, I wish I could do that." And I just reach out to them cold and say, "Hey,
Right.
would love for you to tell your story to the cruising community." And that's what happened. I guess I met Nikki on an Waterways cruise group, and so that got my attention. But before we talk about Waterways, had you been on a river cruise before?
Yeah, so I did last year, 2023. I was at the Asta River Expo in Budapest last year. So got a chance to um learn more about river cruising. So that was the first time that I even knew that there were so many cruise lines, river cruise lines available. So that was a great opportunity for me to learn a lot about that. And then we actually sailed on the Amadeus and and then I did a back to back, and then Tommie came over and met me, and then we did our Dream Vacations River Summit on the Avalon cruise line.
Okay.
Yeah, so we sailed on those two cruise lines prior to, but the Soulful was our first cruise on AMA Waterways.
And we sort of stayed away from river cruising because it was the idea was it was for older people. Yeah, and so when we got back into that travel after pandemic, we were like, river cruising wasn't even on our radar. And then that she had that ASTA opportunity, and then we had it was called a River Summit with Dream Vacations, and we were like, I've never been to that part of Europe without my weapon, so I was like, you know what, I'd love to try that, and so I flew over later and met her.
Now, what motivated you to go on the Soulful Epicurean river cruise with AMA Waterways?
Yeah, so like I mentioned about, we were at the ASTA River Summit, so you get a chance to meet all the executives, marketing directors and everyone from the different cruise lines. So me and a couple of my other friends had other fellow franchise owners. We had dinner with the marketing director at the time. It was Janet Bava of AMA Waterways, and Jasmine Dowse, who's the director of national accounts there at AMA. So we had dinner with them one night, and then they informed us about what they were doing. They wanted to, well, Jasmine, I think, was the one that spearheaded the entire thing about the Soulful. So she told us to just kind of be on the lookout. We're working on this cruise. It was the inaugural cruise was last year. So she, let us know that was happening. And I said, oh, well, this is something I definitely have to be a part of. So that was when I first found out about it. And I was motivated from that point to say, we're going to do this cruise following year.
And for me, it was easy because, being African-American, we're always eager to learn more about the African culture and its effect on the world, not just in the U.S. And I had never been to France before. So I was like, sure. When she told me about it, we tried to go on the inaugural, but it sold out so quickly. So then we automatically just pivoted and scheduled it for this year, and it was wonderful.
Yeah. So tell the listeners about the itinerary.
Okay, it's easy. So I'll add what we did. We flew into Marseille, and we stood Marseille, France, and we stayed there for a couple of days because we traveled with a couple of our friends. They actually live in our neighborhood. And so they had never been to Marseille. And so we flew into there, stayed there a couple of days, and then we actually embarked or boarded the ship in Arles. So we ended up just taking a cab ride up to Arles. And then from Arles, we went to Avignon. And then from Avignon, we went to Viviers. From Viviers, we went to Tournon. And then from Tournon, we went to Vienne. And then we ended up in Lyon.
Good job.
Now, I don't know if you noticed the French. I had my accent. I don't know if you captured how much my accent is actually almost
spot on.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. I was picking it up. I'm waiting on you to put on a beret, and I'll start calling you Frenchie. So as many of the listeners know, I've already said I often, not often, but occasionally will invite someone on from Facebook or wherever because it just sounded like something I would want my listeners to hear about. However, in your case, I also had a little selfish interest in mind because, as many listeners know, I'll be going on that exact same itinerary in just about 3 weeks. So I want to ask I'm going to ask a couple of real specific questions. So talk about the embarkation process. But talk about AmaKristina and give us a virtual tour. I want to hear all of the details.
Talk about the boarding, and I'll give the tour.
Okay, so we like you said, we did take a van transfer from Marseille to Arles, and oddly enough, this was our first time going to that area, but the train station is right across the street from um from the ship
dock, yeah.
once you get on the
The
port.
port.
So it's really, even if you put the train into Oral, you can get right off and walk right over to the ship. So which was fantastic.
Yeah.
But we got to the area for at the port, downloaded our luggage, and then they took them right there from us. All we had to do was, check in, get on the ship, and they had lunch prepared for us, while our rooms were getting prepared, which was great. So we had a chance to eat and kind of mingle and see the other people, before we didn't sail until the next day, which was also, so you can kind of take your time to get there, for embarkation day.
Yeah, and just some more insight. You can take the path we took, flying to Marseille. You can fly into Paris, but because that train station's right there, you can go pretty much anywhere in France. As long as the train goes to Arles, you can go anywhere, or you can go to Arles, and the hotel, like she said, is right across the street. So that however difficult you want to make it for yourself, you can actually do it.
Yeah, but it's very easy to.
Yeah.
I think we're flying into Marseille, and then Ama is shuttling us to the pier.
Yeah, same thing. That's what we did. We did the AMA transfer.
Outstanding. Yeah. And then and then the ship, it's a beautiful ship. It's got 4 decks, and just compare that to an ocean cruise who's got like 17, 18, 19. So you got 4 decks. The top deck is the one that's exposed. It has sitting areas with shade or no shade. The AmaKristina has a putting surface if you want to practice your putting. It has a heated small swimming pool. It has a walking track that you can exercise on if you want to, and it's great to see the views without having a roof on top of your head. All right. And then you go down to the third deck. The third deck third deck through the first deck is where you start to see the cabins. And then the third deck, you had what's called the chef's table, and it's free. So sign up for that as soon as you get on ship, because it's a smaller, focused area of eating. It's a beautiful little dining area, and the chef cooking. I think we had like 7
course meal.
7 course, 6. Yes, it's a course meal, and it was great and very good food.
Yeah.
And then you go down to deck 2. Like I said, you got cabins, but they have a gift shop, but they also have what's called the lounge. And inside the lounge, you have a bar, you have a piano. That's where all the entertainment is. That's where all the briefings happen.
Mhm.
And also, if you go through that, there's another sitting area that you can have where you can sit and see the front of the ship. And then you go down to deck 1, more cabins. But the best thing about the ship is that beautiful dining restaurant where you can eat food 3 times a day.
Well, we're going to get to the food in a minute.
All right.
So,
I'm sorry, I lost focus. My bad.
no, that's fine. But the food questions about the food are coming.
Okay.
How'd you like your accommodations?
The accommodations were great.
Yeah.
The thing about our sailing was it wasn't a sold out sailing, because there was another sailing that was happening after our sailing. So they added this one to accommodate more people. It wasn't sold out. So some people had an opportunity to upgrade their cabins while they were on the ship. And our friends got a chance to upgrade, and they upgraded to one of the suites.
Wow.
We didn't upgrade to that one, but we got a chance to go in and see theirs. And it was fantastic. The space in those suites were outstanding.
Yeah.
There's a bathtub in there, double sinks,
sitting area.
area.
It was a suite.
So
Yes.
Was there much difference than yours?
It was
Okay.
much different than ours. Yes, just with the space, but I mean, ours was lovely.
So, I don't know how big you are or people in the audience, but I have a decent size about me. Uh, and if you don't, the suite has enough room to where I could shower and not hit the walls and have to do that. But anything under the suite, it was a tight fit for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then another some more insight is that just know that there aren't overwhelming amount of suites available. So if you want that size of a room to where you can have the bed, sort of like a bedroom and a sitting area, and the shower with the bathtub, those go quickly.
You have to book early.
Yeah, so make sure that you book those earlier. But the normal room that I would say is it's kind of tight, but you still get to have you can open up the patio door and you can look out and basically feel like you're right there on the river.
Did you have a balcony?
Yes,
Yes,
we had
we
the
did.
French balcony.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So did you spend a lot of time on the balcony?
There's no place to sit
Yeah.
outside on the balcony, so it's just literally you're able to open the door.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
suites, you can sit on the
Yeah.
balcony, but when you're talking about just the French, no,
French
you can't.
balcony.
It's literally moving that patio door, and just the bars are right there that you're just looking out for good picture opportunities and stuff like that.
It sounds like we have a cabin that's in between what you had and the suite, because on our balcony you can sit out on it, but it's not a suite.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, they do have those
Yeah,
available.
suite was a
Right.
little too rich for my blood.
I hear you.
You had to really, really want it.
I hear you.
So, and I understand there's I know these are real detailed questions, but I can't wait.
Fine.
There's like a combination computer and TV screen in the room, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do have that. So we didn't access it very much. It was just really to learn about the daily activities that were going on, because it is an iMac
Right.
that they have there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You watch whatever shows you want to watch.
Yeah.
Now, talk in general about your food and drink for the week. Just what's the highlights? The chef table certainly sounds like a highlight, but just talk about in general.
Yeah. So they served, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's not a buffet style, so it is sit down. But if you go into the lounge area, there's kind of like a bistro type serving up there. It's not a sit down type of thing for breakfast.
So you can eat in both places.
Yeah, you can eat in both places. Same food.
So that's on a different level?
Yes. You can either go to the main dining area, or you can go to the third floor in the lounge area, or second floor.
Second floor.
Second floor, the lounge area,
Second deck.
just have the bistro, without it being served to you.
Yeah.
Lunch and dinner. Lunch they serve whatever wine of choice. They usually have a red or white that they serve the wine to you. So you don't necessarily have to get the drink package or anything.
Unless you want to drink more than wine.
Yeah, unless you want that. But they do serve the wine at lunch and dinner for you, which I thought was fantastic. Everything the wines are always, catered to the area that they're in. So that's the highlight, for the drinkers.
Our cruise, we had a special situation with our cruise because we cruised over Juneteenth.
Oh, okay.
And they brought in a chef. Her name was Chef Bree, and she's out of Toronto, Canada. And they still had the chef of the ship who started out, but then like the last 3 days, Chef Bree would start adding some of her dishes with an African connection to the menu, right? And so while we're in the lounge and up there dancing and partying, in the evening, the first night she put out some what do you call them? Like snacks / appetizers, and you could tell the difference in the food,
Sure.
Absolutely. And so
Had a much more flair to it,
absolutely. And just knowing, and she would have a card next to it, and it was showing how the food that she's serving us is linked to African culture.
Yes.
That sounds great.
Oh
Yes,
man.
it was
And then she
fantastic.
ended up the next day, she cooked dinner, and you're like, oh my goodness. Okay. And then she kept saying, well, that ain't nothing. Wait till Juneteenth dinner. And then she cooked Juneteenth dinner, and let me tell you something. I'm pausing because my mouth is watering. I got but oh my goodness, it was amazing. So she started. I'm gonna tell you what her menu was. She started out with smothered short ribs. Then she came in with a king crab croquette. Then she came in with a watermelon salad that I didn't even know that was what I needed in my life. And then the main dish was a Cajun chicken pasta that the chicken was just so wonderfully seasoned and not overcooked. It was just amazing. And then she topped it off with a drunken peach cobbler.
Oh man. Well,
I'm gonna let that sit there for a minute.
Yeah. Well, one of the first things that I'm going to do when I get off this call is email my contact and say, hey, by any chance is Chef Bree going to make an appearance?
I know, and I was just about to say, I know we're saying all of this, and we just pray that Chef going to be invited back to your selling also, because we don't know where her schedule was, but hopefully, I'm sure they will have a chef there, because this is the Soulful Epicurean experience. So we just don't know if it's going to be Chef Bree, but hopefully you do have her back.
Yep.
She needs to be a staple.
Yeah.
So Tommie, at one point you alluded to partying in the evening. What kind of entertainment did you all have?
So it was great, right? So at every port, they would bring in talent from the port, local talent, if we were going to be at that port for a few hours, if they could get them on and get them off and have them entertained. So that happened. And when that wasn't available, they had
David Anka.
Yeah, David Anka, who is he's on Apple Music and all those things, but he basically put on a show every time that he performed. And
so he came on, or was he already on the cruise?
He was sailing with us.
He was sailing with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's a partner with Ama as well.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure David's going to be there
with
you all. So they also had, we ended up bringing out karaoke. So we were able to, karaoke on the ship. And
I sang a little, but before you ask, I sang a little something.
Now the question is, can you sing?
Okay.
Nobody. Why are you asking? Hold on. Why are you asking follow-up questions? Oh, but it was that, and then on top of that, you still had the regular assigned music talent that would normally be on a cruise. So at any time you went in the lounge after dinner, there was something that you could sit in there and dance to, chill out to, or be entertained by local talent.
Well, for the listeners, our cruise is slightly different in that it is a full ship charter. So many have heard of Festival at Sea. So Festival at Sea does an annual African American cultural cruise, which it has sold out for like 30 straight years or 35 straight years. But Festival at Sea also has an affiliate called Friends of Festival at Sea. And they take very high-end cruises. They've gone to Africa. They've gone to. They have a cruise coming up in 25 that I wish I could go on, but I don't have $30,000 right now, but it's a cruise to the Far East. And so I've always had on my bucket list to go on a Friends of Festival at Sea cruise. Well, Friends of Festival at Sea is doing the AmaKristina cruise that we're going on. So we'll have, sounds similar to you in terms of entertainment, but they're bringing a comedian. His name is Damon Williams, who is an internationally known comedian. I've seen him before on a regular Festival at Sea cruise, and they're bringing a dance instructor. They're bringing their own DJ, and then bringing a sax player. So it sounds like they're going to try to replicate what you all had, but in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we could go again.
And it's sold out now. For the listeners, sold out means 156 passengers. That's the capacity on AmaKristina. So what about Ama is known for its excursion program. I think they're all included, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They are, which is great.
What were some highlights of excursions that you partook in?
So I'll go by port. And so when we were in, remember I told you we went to Marseille before we embarked on the ship, but they actually took a tour back to Marseille. And luckily it covered things that we didn't, the majority of things that we didn't do. So that was a highlight, seeing old Marseille and hearing the history of the port, and the old port is very interesting. And then we went to Avignon, which ended up doing a bike ride there. But the highlight of that would absolutely, for me, was the Pope's Palace. Because I didn't know that popes at one point lived/fled to France because there were some issues going on in Rome. But learning that history there, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and we actually did 2 separate tours that day in Avignon. While he did that with the popes that morning, in the afternoon, I did the tour of the Foundation Blachier in Apiles, which was the where they curate a lot of the art from different African countries. Yeah, different African artists. They have them there at that foundation. And that was amazing to see that. And I'm hoping they'll have that on your tour.
We've already chosen our excursions, and I'm happy to say that's one that we have.
Oh,
so
yes. Oh, yeah, perfect. You're going to love
good.
that one. Yes.
And then we went from there to Tournon. We did a steam train ride, which you'll do as well, aboard the Jorge Doudou.
There you go, Frenchie.
Yeah, and then from there we went to Lyon.
Yes. Where the Senegalese African tasting of the Senegalese cuisine.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that was very good.
An actual restaurant, and to see, we got to meet the chefs there and taste their food. Very good as well.
Yeah. Now talk about the grand finale of the trip. Paris, right?
Yes. We in Lyon, we got on a motor coach and they took us to the train station area, where we also got a chance to do some shopping there and kind of walk around for about an hour or a couple of hours. We were there, and then got a chance to eat there.
Make sure you eat before you get on that train.
Oh yeah. Make sure you do that. Yes, and then they transported us from there to the train station. Got on the train. It was about a 2.5 hour, very comfortable train ride to Paris.
Yeah, one of those fast trains.
Yeah, and as soon as there was a cruise director that was with us too. So don't worry about traveling alone. You're out there by yourself. You're not. Alma Waterways does a great job with making sure there is a cruise director with you. The original cruise director we had that was on the ship, Crystal, she wasn't with us on this particular part of Paris because there was a back-to-back sailing. Okay. So she had there to greet the next, set of guests that were coming. Right. So she was with us during the Paris transition. We had a different cruise director with us, and which was great also. So we got to Paris, immediately boarded a motor coach, and then they transported us over to the hotel.
Mhm.
And we stayed at the Le Méridien Étoile
Yeah.
hotel there.
I think that's the one we're staying at.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and it was
Very nice.
very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice
Great
hotel.
breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a jazz bar back there as well with live jazz music.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
So at the time that we were there, so it was prior to the Olympics happening. So a lot of the streets were closed down.
Traffic was horrible.
Traffic was ridiculous. You may not go run into that since the Olympics be done by the time, you all go.
Just finished.
Just finishing up, yes. But there was, a lot of traffic, around those areas. But outside of that, you can still walk anywhere you wanted to walk to.
So you had time to do all of the touristy things. I'm sure you saw the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe and the Louvre and all of that.
So the first day, the good thing is that as soon as you get to the hotel, they're ready for you. So you were able to we dropped our bags off because the rooms weren't ready. And then from there, you're literally 4 blocks from the Arc de Triomphe. So we did that. And Nikki had been there before, so she was taking us all over the places locally. And we did that and got to walk around the city. And then that next day is when the rest of the cruise started.
Oh, just a quick tip too. At the hotel, you can get free tickets to go inside of the Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah.
So just go to the concierge desk,
On top.
yes, and ask them for the tickets, and then they'll give them to you. So you don't pay when you get up. Yeah.
You Nikki had been to Paris, right? But Frenchie, Tommie, you had been to Paris, right?
You're not the first person to confuse me, but yes, that is correct.
Okay.
That was my first trip to Paris, and I'm gonna tell you, it's one thing to go and just do it on your own. It's another thing to go, and the advantage on this cruise specifically is you don't just see France that you studied growing up and heard about. You literally get to see the connection that Black African people, African culture has had, and the connection it has with Paris. So that was great.
Joseph Baker, Alexander Dumas,
Yeah.
the African section, that they have in Paris. So you're gonna be informed of all of that and taken to the different areas the different footsteps that they took.
Well, this has been a wonderful preview of our trip, and we certainly will come back around and give you our impressions, and we're going to do a podcast on it also as far as our reflections of the cruise. Let me shift gears and let's talk a little bit more about Jones Getaways. So do you guys specialize in any particular aspect of travel?
Yes, we specialize in custom land itineraries, international travel, but we also do cruises for Alaska and Hawaii as well. And we specialize in ocean and river cruising.
Have you all ever done a group cruise, or do you see that in your future?
We've booked them, and we've also participated in them. And we will continue to have them because, in our opinion, it's one thing to travel solo or with your loved one, but it's amazing when you can bring a group of good people together and experience it all together.
So, but you've done a Jones Getaway group cruise, or you just did group cruise for clients?
Well, actually, we have a group cruise coming up in Labor Day weekend with Virgin Voyages.
Oh,
so
Jones Getaways.
Jones Getaways group cruise then. Yes,
out of Miami.
You still have some room on the group cruise?
No, we don't have any room left for that one.
Yes.
For Labor Day, yes.
But we do have a group cruise planned for Bordeaux, France, next year in October of 2025. And that is a partial charter by Jones Getaways and a couple other agents from Dream Vacations. And We're just going out there. If you enjoy wine, it's 9 through 16 October 2025, and we can talk some more about it if
And
you'd
we
like.
do have cabins available on that
Cabins
one.
are available there.
So that's not a land trip. That's a cruise.
That's a Ama Waterways on the Ama Dolce.
Yes.
We
Oh,
part
okay.
charter on the Ama Dolce next year.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, for my listeners, do a commercial. Give us the details.
Go ahead.
Please join us for the Taste of Bordeaux wine cruise next year, October 9th through 16th, 2025. We're doing a part charter. We're going to go to the different areas of Bordeaux, taste all the different wines that we can. It'll be right after blooming season, so you will still get a chance to see all the vineyards in their glory.
Yeah.
So please come contact us, Jones Getaways and Jones at dreamvacations.com.
All right.
And the advantage is she's actually sailed on it a few months ago.
Mhm.
So she was able to get the inside scoop of what's going to happen there. And the biggest thing is there's two things. It's one, there are options that you can do a pre and post land portion to the cruise if you would like to, if you wanted to stay there longer, or you can just do the cruise and accept the wine that they offer you and drink it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I hope that we can get you a sign up or two or three.
Yeah, we hope so too.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
We'd appreciate that.
So, in general, how can listeners follow Jones Getaways on social media and the internet?
Okay, so thank you for asking that. The first is business, right? So we have a web page through Dream Vacations, and it's www.jonesgetaways.com, and that takes you to our actual web page, and that has all of the different deals that are available. It has you can research and say, for instance, Carnival is your thing, then you can find Carnival on our webpage and you can see all of their sailings. Same with celebrities, same with all of them, because
All the cruise
we're
lines.
partnering with all the cruise lines to include river cruising.
Mhm.
That's the business specific part of it. The social media part of it is we're available at TikTok on Jones Getaways. You're available at Instagram at Jones Getaways. And we're available at Facebook at Jones Getaways by Dream Vacations. But what I'd really like to offer to the audience is that our YouTube channel, which is at Jones Getaways by Dream Vacations, is what we do is every week we post a 5 to 15-minute video of places that we've actually traveled, and we give insight. It's called Travel Tips and Recommendations with Nikki and Tommie. And what we do is we try to help people plan their vacations and their getaways using the mess ups or the great things that we've done to make their vacation even better. So you could watch that weekly and join our YouTube channel. That would be outstanding. And we prefer you leave a comment so that we can have a dialogue, because when we travel places, we don't get to see everything, or we don't get to experience everything. So we'd love to know what maybe somebody else has experienced, and we can add it to our list.
Good. Thank you. So, what do you guys do in your me time when you're not cruising or helping others travel around the world?
We typically like to relax at home.
Yes.
Because we are quite busy. A lot of people just think that we're just out here traveling around for our, just for us, which part of it is for us, but this is our business and this is what we do. So when we're traveling around, we're actually still working.
Mhm.
We're actively, talking to people, making connections with different suppliers. We're
Looking
we're
people,
inspecting
receiving
hotels.
calls.
We're still doing everything because
Yeah.
we're still busy on our client side too,
Yeah.
and booking trips. So when we have our me time, we do a whole bunch of nothing.
Yeah. We sit down and
Relax.
take all this
Yeah.
information or all this video and pictures we got and try to organize it so that we
Yeah.
can hit all this social media.
Yeah.
But we work out, we sleep, We watch TV, watch movies, and play with our little dog.
You know, being in Texas, I kind of thought when I asked you about me time, football would come up, but it didn't. So that's okay because I had my Dallas Cowboy jokes ready.
I know, and I could sense that. And the sad part is, I'm from Ohio, so I'm a Bengals fan, so I have jokes for them too.
Oh, okay. So let's talk a little bit about the future. I know you got the group cruise coming up. What else do you have? Do you have anything booked?
Oh yeah. So we're currently, like I said, we have the Virgin Voyages. We have that booked currently. I'm actually doing a seminar at sea with Celebrity Ascent. No, excuse me. Celebrity Apex again. I'm doing a seminar at sea, and that's in Norway. I'm doing that one mid-August. So while you're on your cruise with the Soulful, I'll be in Norway with Celebrity during that. And then also I'm doing a land with a land fam with Great Safaris to Africa. So I'm doing that. So yeah, we're pretty busy. Have a national conference coming up in November.
Yeah. Celebrity Ascent. So yeah, she's booked more than I'm booked.
Booked and busy.
Now wait a minute. The Celebrity Ascent, I know you said you're going in August. Is that where also the national conference in November is?
No, I'm doing the Apex. I'm sorry. The Apex is in August, but we're actually on the Celebrity Ascent for our national conference in November.
What date in November?
5 to
Because that's not a full ship charter or anything, right?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It's not.
All right. Well, offline, let me know because I'm on Celebrity Ascent in November.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Talk
so I sure hope it's the same cruise. I don't have the date right in front of me, but I'm booked.
Okay.
All right. You booked and busy. That's right.
I know I'm booked because I just had to pay for it, pay the balance a couple of days ago, and I'm hurting right now.
But you booked.
But I'm booked.
We get it.
All right. And then finally, once again, just talking about Bordeaux, I'm excited. I've never been to Bordeaux, so I'm excited to participate in that. I think it's going to be great.
What's on your cruise and travel bucket list?
Man, so that's easy for me. The continent of Africa, doing as much as I can so for me, militarily, I was actually in Liberia, Monrovia specifically. And so I want to travel in the continent without the military patch on.
Right.
And then we're also taking steps to visiting the 7 wonders of the world. We got 3 down. We got 4 more to go.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, my list is saying what he said.
Well, Nikki and Tommie, this has been a lot of fun. But before we let you go, a couple of what I call fun or light, cruise questions. And then perhaps an oddball question. And the only thing that makes it oddball is it doesn't directly relate to travel, to cruising. So the first question is an easy one, just for me to get some ideas. And I do get plenty of good ideas from this. So what are your favorite cruise drinks and cruise food?
Okay. Now, when you say drinks, what's the limit that I can tell you?
It can be anything. Because like my wife just drinks tea.
Bless her heart.
So yeah, but I drink.
Okay. Everything. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm a cocktail guy, right? I don't really drink straight up anymore. I'm too old to keep doing that. So I like the painkillers. I like the rum punch and mojito.
Love painkillers, by the way.
And like mojitos when you talking about strawberry or blackberry, you know, when you mix them up,
See the
you want
excitement
me to
in
keep
it?
going on? I got the Moscow Mule. I love pina coladas. I
Okay.
love passion fruit martinis.
What about the food?
Food. Oh, I'm sorry. An old fashioned.
Oh, I actually was enjoying him going through the drink. Although it sounds like we have similar tastes in cocktails.
absolutely.
On mojitos, I don't know if you like coconut, but if you do, try
Really?
coconut mojito.
No, I have not. I
And then you said a pina colada. Have you had a Miami Vice?
yes.
Half pina colada, half strawberry. Yeah, so we sound very similar in terms of our drink appetite.
So when we're on the cruise and my lovely bride is playing the slot machines, that's when I try.
Is up there?
That's when I try all the extra drinks.
That's when you try
There you
stuff.
go. There you go. Now, food.
So what's your
My
drink,
drink
Nikki?
is an old fashioned.
Yes.
I'm a
Oh,
girl.
yeah.
Yes.
I just got into those, not through these kind of
Oh,
sessions.
yeah.
Someone turned me on
Yeah.
the old fashioned. So now I've had a nutty old fashioned. Now I want to get a smoky
Yes.
one that smokes.
Yes. I have a kit actually here at the house, but I haven't used it yet, but I'm on my way to try to use that to
Just
learn how to do the old fashioned.
Just remember this about old fashions. Not all of them are created equally.
Yeah. You have to have someone that can,
Oh, I know.
can really
I
make
know.
them
That's
correctly.
it.
So, and then
Yep.
food wise, for me, I don't know if you sailed on Virgin Voyages yet. Yeah, but
Yes.
they're the Korean barbecue, the gumbae.
Gumbae, yeah.
Yes, I really enjoy that. I
And
love
my
that.
favorite.
Yeah, and you know it's funny because before I went to Gumbay, I was kind of dreading it because you have to like do some interactions
yeah.
with people who you don't know, and I'm kind of an introvert and didn't think I'd get into that. Well, first of all they had this rice wine that I had them, even though I wasn't losing the game, I had them refilling that. But yeah, it was all that, and I had I was sitting around a bunch of good people,
Yeah.
so all that I was playing a good extrovert
There you
that
go.
night,
Yeah.
but
There you
I am definitely an introvert. So yeah, I'm familiar with
Yes.
So
Gumbay.
is she.
Yes. I knew how, yes.
But my favorite restaurant and food is on Carnival. It's called Teppanyaki. It's
Oh yeah,
hibachi.
oh yeah, had that. Yeah,
And I'm gonna tell you something.
yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's even better than some of the ones I've been on land. Their food is
Yeah, that's
great.
really
Yeah, I usually try a teppanyaki on any ship that offers it.
Yeah.
So,
That's
Carnival does a
fair.
great job with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
all right. Next question. This can be for both of you, or you can answer individually. What's your most memorable, or funniest, or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience?
So I'm going to answer for both of us. There we were on the cruise ship, and we arrive in St. Thomas. And there's rumors going on about this drink called a bushwhacker. And we don't know what a bushwhacker is, but somebody says there's Bailey's in it. And see, Bailey's is my favorite drink in the world by itself with a little bit of ice. So we go and
Get on the tram. We go up to this restaurant that's on top of the hill.
Yeah.
A lot of listeners may know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's just like it's a great area. It's outdoors. You can see the bay, see your ships, and so we sit down, and this young gentleman's there serving, and I'm like, we'd like to try the bushwhacker, and he's like, oh my gosh, we're sold out of them. But we started to make some more, but it's going to be a little while. And we're like, well, I'll tell you something, guy. We're not leaving until we try this bushwhacker. And so this young lady comes up. She's like, well, we have a little bit left over, so we'll just give you a taste. And then when it's actually done, you'll try it. So she brought over some. And so we tasted, and I'm like, oh, I like that.
It's supposed to be like a slushy type,
Yeah.
but this was more
This was
liquid,
just, yeah.
you
And
know.
so we're like, okay. So we're sitting there and we see them drop about 5 different alcohols into the machine. And we're like, okay, that's no problem. And then they start making it, and it was like, well, since you've been sitting here so long, it's not quite frozen yet, but we'll give you another little sample to take on. So they bring that over, and it's just pure alcohol without anything else. But it's a good day, you know what I mean? So we drink that up. We're like having fun. We're talking to people, and I'm not an introvert, if you haven't noticed. So I'm yelling at people on the other side, inviting people over, and then it's finally finished. And they bring them, and they keep bringing them, and they keep bringing them. And I'll just tell you this: I've been a designated driver since I've known my wife for 20 some years. So I got us back to the ship. Doesn't remember getting to the ship. And we were supposed to be there for this huge presentation of
Award
one of her
ceremony.
best friends is getting an award from Dream Vacations. And we woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So that was kind of
So
the funniest, embarrassing, and people didn't see us for like 1.5 days because it took us that long to kind of recover.
They weren't even sure we got back on the ship.
Right. Yeah, I think that was probably yes.
We-
Well,
I can honestly tell you, I probably had about 6 or 7 cups.
yeah, it was that was bad. So yeah, so that was probably the most.
It got to the
Funniest.
point that the bartender said, I told the bartender, I said, look, these are going too fast. I think I got a hole in my cup. That joker got some tape and taped my cup up. And he said, baby, but we going to fix that.
The oddball question. So I know some of your friends and following and clients are listening. Welcome to the Jones Getaway followers. We certainly hope you have enjoyed listening to the Joy of Cruising podcast, and we'll come back to listen to additional episodes. So Nikki and Tommie, share one thing that my listeners and your friends and followers don't know about Nikki and Tommie.
I'll say, okay, here's one. Nikki's from Columbus, Georgia. And we talked about old Fort Benning, now called Fort Moore. I was actually stationed at Fort Benning for 2 years while Nikki lived there, and we had never seen each other or met until 10 years later, we met in Virginia.
Yeah, in the same city and
Wow.
everything. Ran around probably the same circles, but we never
Absolutely.
knew anything about each other until we met in Virginia.
The
Yeah.
funniest thing is I literally lived one exit
over.
from her parents' house.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
never saw her and she never saw me
Yeah.
that we remember, and we absolutely never met.
Yeah. So I just say it just wasn't our time to meet then. We met when we were supposed to. Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. Nikki and Tommie, thank you so much for coming on the Joy of Cruising podcast. I got a feeling that we'll be chatting again. You all do some great cruising. You have a great outlook on the world. We have something in common. You know, I spent 3 years in the military, and I was in Columbia, in Fort Benning. But yeah,
That's right.
I have enjoyed talking to y'all, and I will definitely pencil you in for later this year or early 25. So be ready.
It's true. We thank you for having us on.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
All the best with Jones Getaways, my dream vacation. And as I like to say, we will see you on the ocean.
All right, you take care now.
All right now.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99, can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.